weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DM.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome here into Sports Talk Media Network on this Monday after. Quite a weekend, wouldn't you say? And we're going to hear what you have to say about everything that went down over the weekend. So grab a phone line. They will be hot and they will be full. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Here on Sports Talk, Phil Kornblum, Pat Daniel from the Dave and Buster's Studios. Here in downtown Columbia, Chris Bergen has the night off. He'll be off the next 2 nights. And so we will move forward without Bergie the next couple of nights. I was at the South Carolina game Saturday night. Pat was at the Clemson game Saturday afternoons. We can both share our thoughts on what we saw at the respective games. Of course, victories for both teams. Important that you win. Really, the bottom line is getting the W. You don't have to draw a picture. You don't have to make excuses for winning football games, that's for sure. As coaches will tell you, winning is hard, and they're not going to ever make an excuse for how they win football games. South Carolina knocking off Texas A&M. Again, the Gamecocks getting excellent play out of their special teams and a good running game with Marshawn Lloyd getting about 100 yards. Spencer Rattler, again, a good protector of the football. No interceptions for him. Not great overall numbers in terms of how high his passing yards were and his completion percentage, but he protected the football. And, this is his first SEC game where he's not throwing an interception. So that's a positive sign for Spencer Rattler at quarterback for South Carolina. Of course, the defense did a really good job. They gave up some yards here and there. They were outgained by Texas A&M, but they kept the big play pretty much in check. They didn't let Devon Achane run crazy on them as he did the previous season. So he did a lot of good things, the Gamecocks did a lot of good things to win that ball game. Electric atmosphere in Columbia, sellout, traffic everywhere, state fair across the street. Made for a really great afternoon for those who went out there early and stayed all day. So the Gamecocks are in the top 25 at number 25. First time they've been ranked in a number of years. This season's taking on, in some ways, it's kind of taking on the personality of year 2 under Will Muschamp. When the Gamecocks, remember, they won 9 games. They beat Michigan in the bowl game. Muschamp uttered that famous phrase, all gas, no brakes, when he met with the media. So he told the players, because he was pumped up, jacked up, fired up, ready to go for the next year, all gas, no brakes, all gas, no brakes. Well, it went downhill from there for the Gamecocks. The key for Shane Beamer, of course, is to keep it going, to build, recruit extremely hard. Certainly Saturday night was a great recruiting tool for the Gamecocks, and you got to build on what you've done now. And now, all of a sudden, here are the Gamecocks sitting in a great position, and at 5-2, 7 games in, 5-2, and they've got 2 winnable games coming up, one at home and one on the road. They'll be favored in both. They are favored against Missouri. They'll be favored at Vanderbilt. Missouri had to get a late stop to beat Vanderbilt at home this past Saturday. Vanderbilt had the ball last and got it down to the Missouri 44 and got stopped on down. So 17-14, that was a very close ball game. The point is, if that's what it takes at home to beat Vanderbilt, then what does it tell you about Missouri? Missouri does have a very good defense. That's one thing South Carolina is going to be facing Saturday for their homecoming. Really good defensive team in the Missouri Tigers, but their offense is not all that great. So if you're South Carolina, you stay focused, you keep playing good football, avoid the turnovers, continue to get great special teams play. Pete Limbo's just done a fantastic job with the Gamecock special teams. I mean, they are, we'll go over this later, but they're number one in the country in punt returns, number one in the country in blocking kicks / punts, eighth in kickoff returns. I mean, they're just good in that area. And Xavier Leggett took the opening kickoff back 100 yards, 2 games in a row where the Gamecocks have gotten on the scoreboard within like 30 seconds. So that's always good. So a lot of good things to talk about from South Carolina. And now you're looking at the real possibility of sitting here 2 weeks from now, if you take care of your business, 7-2, before you hit what could be, I'd have to look it up and see, but I'm willing to guess the Gamecocks, as things stand right now, have the most difficult closing 3 weeks of anybody in the country. When you consider they have to go to Florida, they host Tennessee, and they go to Clemson. So you're talking about Florida in Gainesville, which it is Florida in the swamp. Say what you will, Florida in the swamp. And then you're talking about 2 top 5 teams in Clemson and Florida State. So, I'm sorry, Clemson and Tennessee. So they have an extremely difficult closing 3 weeks. And if you're South Carolina, if you're sitting there 7-2 with those 3 games to go, you know, you got nothing to lose. You'll probably be underdogs to all 3. I imagine there'll be an underdog. Might not be a big underdog, but I imagine there'll be an underdog to Florida. And but I think that's a game they could still win. They win the next 2. They got the confidence going extremely high. Let's say Florida gets handled by Georgia in Jacksonville this weekend. That's going to, already turn a not a great season for them into something even less. And because they're 4-3, 1-3, they lose this, they'll be 500, and they'll be 1-4 in the league. And then they go to Texas A&M. So, Gamecocks might be catching the Gators at an extremely good time, mentally speaking. They win their next 2, they're going to be sky high and confident. And going into Gainesville thinking they can beat the Gators, and they might very well beat the Gators. So why couldn't the Gamecocks be 8-2 going into those last 2? Somebody here said back in the summer, let me see if I can find that quote from myself. I think the Gamecocks could possibly win 8 games this year, end quote. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But a very, very pleasant turn of events for Gamecock fans with what's happening with their football team right now. As for Clemson, Pat, you were there. It was homecoming for the Tigers. I know the traffic was a bear getting into Death Valley on Saturday afternoon for a homecoming and a 12 o'clock kickoff. I hate 12 o'clock kickoffs at Clemson. And for the second straight game, they had to deal with a team that took the opening kickoff and went down the field on them. And, they had to get a defensive stop to keep them out of the end zone. And that game had a lot of crazy twists and turns to it. And Clemson had to really lean on its defense in the second half to keep Syracuse out of the end zone and then get their offense going, change quarterbacks, got the benefit of a great no call, the benefit of a call that went in their favor on a similar play that aided them, and then they got the benefit of a call that was not made, that should have been made, that would have kept the Syracuse drive going, that may have meant something down the stretch of that game. Pat, what was your take on the Tigers and what you saw and how you think they are looking coming off that win over Syracuse?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with a lot happened in that game. It went back and forth quite a bit. Clemson came out. It was the 6th time in 8 games that they have scored either a touchdown or a field goal on their opening possession of the game. They continue to come out. Brandon Streeter continues to have his guys come out very aggressive on their opening drive of the game, almost seemingly to want to kind of flex a little bit on their opponent and kind of impose their will. But then for 5th or 6th time out of those 8 games, they have then kind of floundered around for the next quarter and a half before finally getting it together, maybe into the first half, and then coming out in the second half playing much better offensively. But it's interesting to watch this team, 4 different empty possessions inside of the 35-yard line, either resulting in a turnover or turnover on downs or a punt or something happening 4 different times in this game. And if they had actually been able to punch any of those in for scores, this game, we'd be talking about a totally different ball game. But what changed the game and really gave Syracuse the confidence that they were going to win this game was when DJ fumbled the ball. They had the ball at the 10, or I think it was actually the 2 or 3 yard line. He then rolled backwards, fumbled at the 10. The Syracuse was able to then do a scoop and score for 90 yards, and that was a 14-point swing right there. Instead of Clemson going up 14-7 because it was tied at the time, Syracuse then went up 14-7, and you could have heard a pin drop in that stadium. That's one of the quietest I've heard that stadium in years and years, in particular along this extensive winning streak that they have going back to that Pitt game.
Mhm.
But then I have to give credit to Wes Goodwin. He was able to make adjustments at halftime and spoke to him after the game, asking if he feels as though his guys have played a full game yet. And he kind of laughed and said, like, almost obviously, no. They've been able to put together 2 quarters or 3 quarters of a game, but they've yet to put together a full performance. And he's trying to kind of figure out why it's taking them make these halftime adjustments before they're able to kind of slow down the other team. Brandon Streeter, on the other hand, still maintains that he remains just as aggressive throughout the game, even though to those of us watching, it kind of appears that may not quite be the case. I don't want to speak for the guy, but it just seems like between the 40-yard line and the 20-yard line, there's a lot of confusion on offense about what exactly to do, whether to continue trying to push the ball or to become a little too, I don't know, just not lack of aggression there, I guess, get too conservative on the offensive side of the ball. You did, though, mention that they you got to give Dabo credit, having the, how do I put this, PC, having the courage to make that quarterback change. You sit down DJ Uyunglele, you go to the true freshman in Cade Klubnik, who has not really played in meaningful games this year, at least not in meaningful moments, and he came in and immediately sparked the offense. Yes, there were a few questionable calls, in particular when he scrambled out and was hit right as he was going out of bounds. They would have had to punt the ball there, but instead got a free first down off a late hit. And then on the very next possession for Syracuse, you saw their quarterback an almost identical play on 3rd down, and he wasn't given the call. And quite frankly, I thought that was a more egregious late hit on the cornerback as he was going out of bounds, and they did not get the call. And that was on their own sideline, right in front of a referee. So Clemson absolutely benefited from that. And then Syracuse kind of seemed to almost melt down there at the end of the game. After those play calls, the stadium got woken up. The stadium was very, very loud. They were every bit as loud in the 4th quarter of this game as they were a few weeks ago against NC State. So the defense benefited from that. But it just almost seemed like Garrett Schrader, the confidence he had the first 3 quarters of the game, or especially the first half of the game, kind of seemed to just go away. And in that 4th quarter, he just did not look like the same guy we had seen in the first half. Give credit to the defense. The loss of Barrett Carter was huge. I do not think that Schrader and the offense would have been able to get to the outside as much running the ball. You made it a point to say that multiple times last week. You thought the linebackers were just too fast for Clemson and that they would take away the outside run. But with the loss of Barrett Carter, McGuire just does not have the same speed. That was a huge drop off in speed, and Syracuse took advantage of that, in particular with those outside runs. But tip your cap to Clemson. Dabo had the courage to bring in the freshman. Tip your cap to DJ, who could have sulked on the sideline, a la Cam Newton with the Panthers we saw for years and years. Anytime he faced any kind of situation like that, DJ was very encouraging. I actually had one person tell me after the game that he was taking notes on the sideline on drives so as to be able to then talk with Klubnik between possessions and kind of give him on notes on things that he noticed and that he could kind of capitalize on the next time they had the ball. Syracuse is the real deal. I asked Dino Babers after the game. Hated asking this question, kind of felt like I had to. If you take any moral victories from this, do you take anything, do you feel as though you've finally arrived, that maybe now you are able to compete with the Clemsons of the ACC? And he gave me a very quick 2-word answer. Come on, man. So all he had to say was just, come on, man.
I think I've heard that before. Come on, man.
Yeah, like almost just like a joke. Why are you asking that? But I appreciated that. He was not in a mood to talk. A lot of 1 or 2-word answers after the game. But Syracuse came out and played very well. But Clemson found a way to win, and that's what good teams do. It wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win.
Well, some of that loss goes on him and his staff. He didn't handle timeout situations well. And then, you've got one of the premier running backs in the country, and he carries the ball 5 times.
Unexcusable. Yeah.
He carries the ball 5 times. He averaged 10 yards a carry.
Yep.
Don't understand that at all. He caught 5 passes. He rushed the ball 5 times, and that's just ridiculous. He had 54 yards on 5 carries. That's unbelievable why he didn't get the ball more. Schrader's a good-looking quarterback. Syracuse got a good team. They are a top 25 team, and I'll be surprised if they lose a game the rest of the way. They should finish 11-1 and be right there with, well, I got to see who else they got to play. Maybe
Notre Dame this coming weekend in South Bend. That won't be easy. And I will point out, Dino did not want to comment on this after the game, but where we were interviewing him, the players all were coming out and getting their post-game meals and stuff. And their quarterback, Schrader, came out, and he was hobbling. He had ice pack wrapped around his foot or ankle. He was barely putting any weight. I believe it was his right foot, barely putting any weight on it at all. I asked Dino about it. He just said didn't want to talk about injuries right now. But I would not be surprised if he's not 100% for their game against Notre Dame.
Still got to play Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, the penultimate week of the regular season. There I go with that big word again, penultimate.
You've got your thesaurus again, huh?
Now, I've heard that word being used here recently, and it's kind of stuck with me. Okay, good report on that, Pat. We appreciate it, and appreciate your good work up there on Saturday. So we'll hit the break and come back and get into your phone calls. Your thoughts on what the Gamecocks did with Texas A&M and where they're heading. Your thoughts on what Clemson did with Syracuse and where they're heading. What does this mean with the quarterback situation at Clemson? Because Dabo Swinney was very quick on the post-game TV interview, very quick to state that DJ Uiagalelei was still the number 1 quarterback, that even Steph Curry has a bad day. As he put it, Steph Curry sometimes goes 2 for 25. Well, he really doesn't, but we get the point. Good players can have a bad day. However, what this, of course, will do is plant the seed in the minds of everybody that if Uiagalelei hits a stretch in a game where he's turning it over or not making plays, people are going to start saying, go to number 2. He's ready. He showed. Go ahead and make the pull. Be back in a moment.
Think big, life-changing. I'm talking education, inventive, next-level education. Wake up. For 20 years, education has received billions in funding. Where, you ask? Right here, across our state, in your own backyard. Who has done this? Well, if you've ever played the lottery, that would be you. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wings flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
All right, your phone calls coming up. Also, 1st and 10 with Zach Willis coming up at 7:30. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. And more than $829 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund lottery tuition assistance for students attending technical colleges in South Carolina. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Real quick, just to give you the scores from around the state, if you didn't see them all, besides the Gamecocks and the Tigers, Benedict 35-0 over Morehouse, still undefeated. Allen beat Bluefield State 50-14. Gardner-Webb 28, Charleston Southern 14. The Citadel 34, Western Carolina 21. Virginia Wise 28, Erskine 13, Furman 41, VMI 3, Limestone 48, Catawba 23, Newberry 38, Lenore Rhine 24, Bishop's Trophy back to Newberry, North Greenville 34, West Alabama 33, St. Thomas 46, Presbyterian 17, SC State 26, North Carolina Central 24, and of course the Panthers. Fire your coach, trade your best player, you go out and you give up 3 points and you win over Old Man Brady 21-3, beating the Bucks in Charlotte. Okay, to your phone calls. First up tonight as we roll through the calls, Hank in Columbia. Hank, good evening. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Corn.
Yes, sir.
I remember you with that eight game prediction back in the beginning when everybody was laughing and giggling at you.
They were. They were.
It was a good pat on your back. And
well, it ain't happened yet. It ain't happened yet, but it's an idea.
Yeah, it was a lot. It's a lot closer than that. What it was that over or under with Vegas of just 5 games winning.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I give you a pat for myself on the back. You remember around that second week or whatever, I said, really they had really not significantly put Marshawn in the game plan yet. And once they did that, you could see the kind of special back he is. Now A&M, that defense is one of the top defenses in the country. It's littered with 5-stars, and there were a couple of different times when Marshawn made cuts to put that foot in the ground and made people move. He's special.
No question. No question. He runs hard. He's got the burst. He's got the cuts. He's got the vision. Yeah. He's got the complete package.
Yeah, and the other thing that was really good about the game was, oftentimes when you get off to a fast start like he did, made that push to get it back close. Like in Florida during the Muschamp years, which is why I won't compare season to Muschamp. It kind of gets going downhill and it stays downhill. But every time the A&M would push it close, South Carolina's offense would step up and push back to stretch it out. I tell you what, I also like that the defensive line. I mean, they, along with the crowd. Now you have to give the crowd a shout out, but the defensive line brought a lot of pressure. And when they would bring the defensive line called up the people that needed to clog up so that they could bring those corner blitzes and those linebacker delayed blitzes. And even though they didn't get a sack, they made King and the other young man real uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They hit them a lot right as they were getting the ball loose. They closed that pocket. So I just you have to say you see him what people saw you could get out of Pickens and Birch, and also Edmonds and Tonka Hemingway.
Well, I'm also going to give credit, and thank you, Hank. I'm going to give credit to the offensive line for making progress. They seem to be getting better, and this was an offensive line that couldn't do anything with A&M last year in College Station. Nothing. I mean, now they didn't go out there and mow them down. They only rushed for a total of 118 yards, 3.4 average. But I thought they gave Rattler ample time in the pocket. He still has to, of course, figure out how to stay in the pocket longer instead of trying to escape and running around. But I thought they gave him time most of the time in the pocket. And I thought that they, at time, opened up some running lanes and to give Lloyd or whoever was running the football, mostly Lloyd, an opportunity to do something. And Lloyd ended up with about 92 rushing yards on the night. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. He only carried it 18 times for a net of 92 yards. So I thought their offensive line, they played pretty well. And I think that they are getting better. Their last 2 games, the Kentucky game on the road and this one at home against A&M, I think I'm seeing an offensive line starting to figure it out a little bit.
And Corn, speaking of the line, talking about these interior guys, I was driving back from Clemson for a majority of the game, so only really caught the second half. But from what I saw, Jordan Birch looked like he was living in the backfield. He looked far more aggressive and looked better than I've seen him in a while. I was curious your thoughts as well on him. He seemed huge in that game.
Oh, yeah. 7 tackles, broke up a pass, 2 quarterback hits. Gamecocks had 9 quarterback hits or quarterback hurries in the ball game. They didn't have a sack, but as was pointed out, Hank pointed out, they were in the backfield and they were making the quarterback uncomfortable, which is part of the battle right there. But I thought he was tremendous. You mentioned the linebackers. They were excellent as well. Okay, we'll continue with your phone calls after the break.
Is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with the low temp dipping to 49. Tomorrow, a mix of mostly sun with some clouds rolling in and a high getting up to 78. Our best chance of rain in a while is Wednesday with about a 20% possibility and a high around 80, mid to upper 70s as our high temps the rest of the work week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Are you worn out from wall-to-wall political talk? Instead of hearing more about the stuff in Washington that's mostly out of your control, I'll give you the tools to actually take control of your money and your life. Dave Ramsey here. Join me right here on The Point. I'm live and taking your calls weekdays at 2 p.m. I'll teach you how to get on a written plan that actually works, get out of debt, and build wealth. Weekdays at 2 p.m. The Dave Ramsey Show at 100.7 The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Governor Ron DeSantis and Democratic challenger Charlie Crist head to the debate stage tonight for what may be Crist's best and possibly last opportunity to change the trajectory of the Florida governor's race. DeSantis, a Republican who was seen as in charge during Hurricane Ian, is leading many polls after focusing on cultural issues such as education throughout much of his last 4 years in office. Crist, a former Republican governor who most recently served as a Democratic congressman, is eager to stop DeSantis' political rise. Ukrainian authorities tried to dampen public fears over Russia's use of Iranian drones by claiming increasing success Monday and shooting them down, while the Kremlin's talk of a possible dirty bomb attack added another worrying dimension as the war enters its 9th month. More details at srnnews.com.
We might not get the wrath of winter they get up north, but we still need something to take that cold edge off. Let Bart Fireside provide your warmth this winter with the comfort and convenience of gas logs. Bart Fireside can beautify existing fireplaces with new gas logs or install a new fireplace. Bring the family together this winter. Bart Fireside is National Fireplace Institute certified. Want more info? Take a look at bartfireside.com or go by the showroom to get some hands-on help. 1131 Broad River Road. Bart Fireside, keeping you warm this winter.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
When it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories, some things are changing. Well, fortunately, some things haven't changed a bit. I'm talking all about Shooter's Choice in West Columbia. What has never and will never change is the customer service. Top-notch with the staff that has decades of experience in the firearms industry. This staff actually hunts and shoots regularly. For over 30 years, Shooter's Choice has never lost that hometown feel and never felt like shopping at some big box store. What has changed? Well, technology. If you'd rather spend your money on firearms than gas, go online to SportsTalkSC.com and check out a great website that's easy to navigate 24/7. Be the first to get items as they are received at the store. Be the first to get that newest production model ordered before it even enters the retail store. Come pick it up at your convenience. Sign up for notifications of new products and special inventory. It's all at ShootersChoiceSC.com. So come on in and see the team at Shooter's Choice, 944 Sunset Boulevard, or visit online. Either way, you'll see what I'm talking about. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
Fall is here. The leaves are changing. It's almost time for a Halloween. That's right. It's time to adopt a pet from Columbia Animal Services. The best treats this October will be teaching your new dog or cat some tricks. Visit petfinder.com to find your new family member. Adoptions are $35, but you can get your new kitty or pooch from October 24th through Halloween for just a $15 fee. Visit petfinder.com and bring home a new fur baby from Columbia Animal Services.
All right, let's get back to your phone calls on this Monday after edition of Sports Talk. 888-898-2525. Got plenty of notes that we'll go over as well. Got a ton of recruiting that we'll get to you as well. And Zach Willis, first and 10, 7:35. Can't wait to hear his thoughts on the USC and A&M game, the Clemson and Syracuse game. But let's get your thoughts rolling on that as well. We appreciate the phone calls. As we go to Andy in Columbia. Is that right? Next up, Andy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Corn, Pat, I'm doing wonderful. First off, let me commend Pat again on the wonderful article he wrote for y'all regarding the Clemson game. It's the only time I'll ever read anything written about Orange is when Pat Daniels is the author.
Well, that's fantastic.
I found it quite enjoyable, and I'm glad you're taking advantage of his great work.
Great work.
Mr. Corn, you know what your Yankees and my floor have in common?
What might that be?
They were both swept yesterday.
It's baseball.
And not to mention, my Lord, your Packers. Is the problem that Rodgers just didn't bring that hallucinogenic back for the whole team? They all could be like on some kind of, high that he's on? There's some kind of disconnect there, and
well, it's like I call them Mars. I call the Packers Mars. In other words, there's no life on the Packers. There's no life on Mars. There's no life on the Packers. I look at that team, and they're a shell of themselves. Now, look, they still have a chance to correct it, turn it around, but I don't know. There's a definitely disconnect on the offensive side. Things are just not clicking for whatever reason. I can't believe losing one wide receiver would make your whole offense just go to crap. I mean, I know they lost a great player in Devontae Adams, great player, but you got others, and I don't understand maybe the fact that Rodgers doesn't play in the preseason, but here we are deep enough into the regular season to have picked it up. I don't know. They don't know. I mean, if they can't figure it out, I certainly can't figure it out. It's just poor execution, poor play calling, poor communication between quarterback and receivers, inexperienced receivers. That's probably got something to do with it. I mean, he is playing practically brand new receivers, except for his tight end and one of his receivers who can't stay healthy.
Cobb still there?
Who's this?
Cobb.
Yeah, but he's out right now. He's out with an injury. Yeah, he always gets hurt. I hate to say it. Terrific player, but he's always hurt. And these young guys and Rodgers just aren't on the same page about 95% of the time. And then you got your drops. Dobbs dropped another one yesterday.
Amari Rodgers had a costly drop, too, on a beautiful long ball by Aaron Rodgers.
Dobbs is not doing the Robert Brooks number 87 a whole lot of good in that Packer uniform.
Now, Rodgers' girlfriend, what's her name?
Sky Blue?
Sky Blue or something. I'll tell you what, that's what the problem is right there, my man. His head's just gone.
Well, I've always said he plays his best football when he's not involved with a female. Every time he's been dilly-dallying with the distaff side, he's, he has bad years.
Yeah, I think they brought some of that Hiawatha back from Peru with them, and that might be.
She looks like, not looks, I shouldn't say that. From what I've read, she seems to be kind of a different bird. Not to get into the page 6 part of the program here, but I'm just saying.
Okay, regarding the South Carolina game, one thing I don't understand, We have a great running back in Marshawn Lloyd. Why did he only get 5 carries in the first half?
Well, keep in mind, they had short fields. They had the kickoff return that took a possession away, which you're not going to trade that. You got 7 points. And then they had the interception, I think, gave them a short field that led to a field goal.
I think he got 1 or 2 carries on that
Yeah,
possession.
I mean, I'm just saying, they had limited opportunities there because they got some breaks that went their way, special teams and defensively, that didn't require a whole lot of offense right there. So
But that was in the first quarter. We didn't get much movement in the second quarter. I just didn't see them feeding him the ball enough in the first half. And we saw what happened when they fed him the ball in the second half. And I think it opens up more for Rattler when he's running the ball more, Lloyd. And CBS, I believe, he's a great back, but he's great on those short distances. When Lloyd couldn't put it in on that first turnover, and then we came back down and we had that short field again for the touchdown, you brought in CBS, and he just broke right through the line, and he was right in there.
yeah,
I just don't think, you know, I just don't think they're taking advantage of Lloyd enough in the situation they should. They put Rattler in a bad situation, I think, in the first half by trying to force him into too many passes, where they could have controlled the game a lot better with running the ball, and we might have seen a little bit more scoring than what we saw in that first half.
yeah.
That's just
I mean, their
my opinion.
offense wasn't great in the first half. In the first half, they ran for 18 yards on 10 carries, and they were 6 of 16. They had 98 yards in the first half. They gave up 214. Again, special teams defense made plays for them to give them an opportunity to be ahead, and that all counts too. I mean, you're not going to turn your nose down the opportunity to score points in any phase of the ball game. Now they did pick it up in the second half, and that's been a trend of them, as we of course have noted under Shane Beamer, how they get better in the second half. They play better football in the second half.
So let's not forget what we were complaining about before the Kentucky game, is we couldn't get off on a good start. These past 2 games, we got off on a good start with clutch victories.
Yep.
So I mean, that's been a good thing. And I'll tell you the truth, I wouldn't. I mean, the beginning of the year, I didn't think we'd be sitting here 5-2, and I just think what's going on so far in the program is great. Hopefully, this being ranked isn't going to make these guys' heads get big, and Missouri comes in and pulls off a stinker on us. So
Only
let's
the
hope-
wisest among us thought the Gamecocks could be in the neighborhood of winning 8 games. In the fourth quarter, this is what I'm talking about. The fourth quarter, the Gamecocks ran it 14 times for 72 yards. So, with the lead and opportunity to put the game away, they were able to do that. They were able to control the football in the fourth quarter. As far as they won the time of possession by a little over 2 minutes, they ran the ball, held A&M to just 1 rushing yard. They did throw for 103. Obviously, in catch-up mode, they were going to throw it a little bit more. But and Lloyd, he had 8 carries in that quarter for a gain of 46 yards. So they did, when they had a chance to try to salt the game away, they did turn to their running game, and it responded. You got to like that. You got to like
The
that.
more you feed Lloyd, the more he's gonna. The longer he, as the game goes on, he's gonna get stronger.
Mhm.
He just, he's one of those type of players that you want to feed him. I think 20 plus times a game.
Oh, absolutely. He's got to touch it 20 plus times a
ball
game.
20 times a game, at least 20 times including passing. So,
Absolutely.
in my opinion, it should be 20 to 25. But I don't get paid millions of dollars for my opinion, so
Yep.
that's just it.
All right, so
Have
thank
a
you
great
very
day,
much.
Mr.
Yeah,
Korn.
appreciate it.
Enjoy it.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully next week will be better for you and the Packers, and
Hmm.
enjoying you and your Yankees sitting at home with me and my Mets.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
No, thank you so
Hey,
much.
Andy, before you go.
No, let him go.
Okay, he's gone. I was just going to say, because you're a Yankees fan, obviously I'm Braves, he's Mets. Hopefully we can at least all agree to pull against the Astros and the Phillies at this point. Of course, that leaves nobody left, but I mean.
Astros look so strong. They
So
just
strong.
look, they are just good. They play smart baseball. They play hard from the get. You got to, I hate it. Yeah, I'm not a big Astros fan, but I'd love to see Dusty Baker get that ring for everything he's done, 55 years in baseball, everything he went through in the early years. And man, yeah, I'd like to see Dusty Baker get that ring. And they're going to be hard they're going to be hard to beat. Their pitching is excellent. Their bullpen is deep. Their offense is plenty good. Their defense, that rookie shortstop is incredible. The career he's about to have, he stays healthy, man. There's no telling what he's going to do over his next 15 years or so. And, that's the problem the Yankees have right now. They unsettled at shortstop, unsettled in their closer role, unsettled with the much of their bullpen for that matter. Now, a lot of that had to do with a lot of injuries on their pitching staff, especially in the bullpen. But when they got off to that great start, but they had a losing record, including going through last night. They had a losing record for their final 101 games. They finished under 500 after that great start. So, as great as it was to have Judge hit the 62 home runs and keep everybody excited about that, that kind of covered up the flaws of this Yankee baseball team for the most part. You had a third baseman who went into a terrible slump. You had a revolving door at shortstop. You never could figure out who to have as your leadoff guy. I mean, you had Judge leading off. You had Rizzo leading off. You finally settled on Bader to be your leadoff guy, and he seemed like the natural leadoff guy for them. So, we'll see what happens with the Yankees moving forward. If you're a Yankee fan, of course, all eyes are on Judge and what he's going to do. That will be, of course, if you're a Yankee fan, you say, well, for everything, and he is a great player, but not won a World Series with him. He's been there going on since about 15 or 16. Yankees haven't won a World Series, haven't gotten to a World Series with him. So, can't get to a World Series with him. Maybe you don't want to lose him to free agency, but that's probably what's going to happen. I'm not going to trade him. I don't guess anybody will give you what you want in a trade. Probably best just to go ahead and, if he wants to stay in New York, reach a deal and keep him in New York. I mean, he is a great player. He's a five-tool player, and maybe you get the right people around him. You had too many guys just had subpar years. Hicks never got it going. I do love Rizzo at first. I think the Yankees only had him on a one-year deal. I would hope they would re-sign him. He hit over 30 homers. He's not going to hit for much of an average, but man, how many runs does he save you at first base with his glove? I mean, he made a play. I think it was last night, a pick and a swipe to get the runner is just incredible. He's a terrific first baseman. So we'll see. Pretty solid behind the plate, but the Yankees have to shore up that pitching for sure, because it came apart on them as the season wore on, and they just were so short of pitching by the time they got to the postseason, and they were wore out. That staff was just that bullpen was worn out by last night.
Well, Phil, how about the report that came out before the game that Aaron Boone, manager, and then Chad Bowling, the Yankees mental skills coach, were sending around highlight videos of the 2004 Red Sox yesterday morning before the game to help hype up the Yankees, to show that it is possible to come back from a 3-0 deficit, which, of course, remember, famously came against the Yankees. And also, they brought in David Ortiz to come in and speak to Aaron Boone about overcoming the deficit and what he can do to help motivate his guys, bringing in the enemy to come and help out.
Well, I would think that these professional athletes really wouldn't need that, to be honest with you. You don't think they are aware, and you don't think they know what's happened in the past and what their situation is? I would, you could do what you want to do. Obviously, it didn't work because they could not hold on to the lead. They had to lead a couple of times last night. And, of course, when it's going bad, it's going bad. They had to call at first base that led to the go-ahead inning go against them, that bang-bang play at first base. I mean, by a spike. They did not get the out, and then you had the bad play at the bag. And that led to the tying run, and I think it was the next inning that the go-ahead run the winning run ended up scoring. Okay, we'll hit the break, come back with more in a moment.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Life insurance isn't for you. It's for those you love the most. For a complete insurance review, call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, serving Lawrence, Clinton, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Beautiful weather around South Carolina this fall is a great time to get away to the Grand Strand, to the coast of South Carolina. Looking for a place to get away to? Make sure you call the folks at James Smith Realty down in Pawleys Island. Let them put you away in a great location. 843-237-4246, PawleysVacationRentals.com. Beautiful area, of course, and this is a great time of year, especially if you are a golfer. You've got golf courses galore all over the place around Pawleys Island and Litchfield and up and down that part of the beach. So give Jimmy a call, talk to Jimmy, talk to his staff, let them help you out. 843-237-4246, online at PawleysVacationRentals.com. Back to your calls in a moment. A few notes I want to get to. Pete Yannity up at Channel 7 in Spartanburg was telling me this afternoon that the flu is running through the Spartanburg High football team. They couldn't practice today, and they got their big game with Dorman coming up on Friday night. So tough to have that happen to you. Hopefully they can get healthy and have their team ready to go on Friday night. Of course, you've got West Florence and South Florence. They sold that game out a long time ago. That's going to be huge on Friday night in the city of Florence, maybe the biggest game ever in the city of Florence for high school football. We've got South Carolina at Vanderbilt. It's going to be a 7:30 kickoff 2 Saturdays from now. That'll be on the SEC network. Previously announced Clemson Notre Dame on NBC, and they'll kick it off at 7:30 as well. So we'll have dueling TV for Gamecock and Tiger fans. Also, South Carolina corner Darius Rush, SEC Defensive Player of the Week, and kick returner Xavier Legette, Special Teams Player of the Week from South Carolina in the SEC. Also, Clemson left tackle Jordan McFadden and Rush from USC were named to the PFF Team of the Week, coming off their performances on Saturday. Clemson's McFadden is the offensive lineman of the week in the ACC. The Tigers' Will Shipley is the running back of the week. Furman is ranked 24th in the Stats Perform FCS Top 25. The Paladins are 6-2. And in the ranking for the first time this season. From Newberry and from Benedict, they remain undefeated after their wins over the weekend. They remain ranked in the AFCA D2 poll. Newberry is up to 12th, and Benedict is now 15th. How about that? And we got Newberry playing Limestone this week, and Limestone got a great win on Saturday, and they're having a really good year. Newberry running back Mario Anderson is the South Atlantic Conference Offensive Player of the Week. 243 yards in the win over Lenore Rhine, 201 in the fourth quarter. That's getting it done. 201 in the fourth quarter. In South Carolina State, the Bulldogs swept the MEAC awards for this week. Wide receiver Shaq Davis is the Offensive Player of the Week. Patrick Godbolt, defensive end, is Defensive Player of the Week. Punter Dyson Roberts, Specialist of the Week. And offensive lineman Nick Taste is the Offensive Lineman of the Week. All right, back to the phones we go. 888-898-2525. It is Triple T in Colatown. Welcome in, Triple T. How are you?
Phil, I'm doing great.
Let me let people know who might not know who you are, though I find that hard to believe. Triple T, that stands for Trash Talking Tiger.
Phil, first I'm going to get on you. You know, I'm a Dodgers fan.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm a Dodgers fan.
No, I said I'm sorry.
And my cousin, we grew up together. His grandmother and my grandmother, we lived across the street from each other. So we played every day. He's a Yankee fan. Last week, he put me on Facebook. He said, "Oh, your Dodgers choked, cuz." I'm saying, okay. I said, just remember, it's always next year. When they lost this morning, I put it on Facebook. I'm looking for my cousin, so-and-so. Please call me. He haven't called me yet. I even inboxed him. He haven't called me at all. So, Phil, all I got to say is, your Yankees choke also.
I don't know that we, I say we. Yeah, I can say we. I don't know that we choked. We got beat by a better team. The Yankees cannot beat the Astros. I mean, just look over the last 5 years. They cannot beat the Astros.
Okay. Another thing. You know Carolina always lose a game they ain't supposed to lose and beat somebody they're supposed to beat. Okay? Remember, they're getting ready to go into the gold rush. The gold rush is the Vanderbilt and Missouri colors are black and gold. Don't get caught by the black and gold rush, because you're not going to win the Orange Crush. Tennessee, orange and white. Florida, orange and blue. Clemson, orange and purple. It ain't going to happen, Captain. And the last thing I'm going to say to you, and two people called me up. They said, "Hey, man," he said, "is it just me?" When I said, "Nah." He said, "Moffitt took the ball down to the 5-yard line, and they took Moffitt out for Shipley in the game again, and Shipley scored a touchdown." And I saw Moffitt's face. He looked up like, they're trying to make Shipley a star. The boy is not a star. I'm saying this, but what can I say? That's what that boy doing. It's going to cost them in the run. Everybody notices it. Everybody notices it. That every time the Moffitt or somebody took it down the goal line, they bring Shipley in. That's all I have to say.
Well,
my Clemson fans,
I think they're all in orange. I think they all wear orange and have tiger paws on their helmets.
And look at me, if I bring the ball down the 5-yard line, at least let me take it in. Okay?
Well, maybe the formation or the play call they had in mind was better suited for Will Shipley.
Oh yeah, don't give me that bull. I'm saying I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm saying this. It's showing favoritism to Shipley.
See, now, do I have to go back? I've tried not to do this. Do I have to go back and refer to you by the nickname I gave you?
Hey, you can call me the angry black man. You can call me anything you want to call me. When I speak the truth, everybody gets said I'm angry. I'm speaking the truth, brother. And like I said, I don't care if my Clemson fan get angry. It's what it is, what it is.
Shipley had 172 yards, 27 carries, averaged 6 yards plus a carry.
All I'm saying to you, he shouldn't have got that first touchdown. He should have been Shipley. I mean, he should have been Moffitt. He got 50 yards on one play.
I'm just trying to understand what difference it makes. They're both in the same uniform. They're both in the same team.
Just to be clear, Maffa had one carry on that drive. Shipley had 3. So Maffa only had 1 carry on the drive.
He took it down to the 5-yard. He took it down to the 5-yard line.
To the
Hello?
It was to the
He
1 yard
took, he
line.
took
but
the
that was
1
his
yard
only
line or
carry.
whatever it is. He took it down. It doesn't matter. Like I'm saying,
All right.
saying it. I'm seeing it. They're showing favoritism. See you later.
Bye
You're going to
bye.
come back to haunt us one day.
ABM. I'm going to call him ABM now because that's what he's become again, ABM. Interesting. Shipley carried it 27 times. Marshawn Lloyd carried it 18. But Clemson had 60 rushes in that game. We'll be back.
Before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden says it's legitimate for voters to have questions about his age as he mulls re-election. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Joe Biden turns 80 next month and says he's physically and mentally capable of serving a potential second term in the White House. But he tells MSNBC that it's totally legitimate for voters to question whether someone his age can manage the demanding stresses of the American presidency. The president would be 82 on Inauguration Day in January 2025. A recent AP poll shows half of Democrats do not want Mr. Biden to run for re-election. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas on Monday granted Senator Lindsey Graham's request to temporarily shield the South Carolina Republican from testifying in a probe of alleged pro-Trump election interference in Georgia.
The move comes after Graham on Friday filed a request to Thomas, who handles emergency matters arising from Georgia, and follows a ruling by a lower appeals court declining to halt Graham's testimony before Fulton County, Georgia's special grand jury. A unanimous three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit last week turned down an attempt by Graham to block a subpoena from Democrat Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis, in which the lawmaker claimed a sitting senator is shielded from testifying in such investigations. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Ukrainian authorities tried to dampen public fears over Russia's use of Iranian drones by claiming increasing success Monday in shooting them down, while the Kremlin's talk of a possible dirty bomb attack added another worrying dimension as the war enters its 9th month. Ukrainians are bracing for less electric power this winter following a sustained Russian barrage on their infrastructure in recent weeks. On Wall Street, the Dow by 417 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Election day in Israel is just around the corner. We hear the latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson reporting from Jerusalem.
Israelis are 1 week away from their 5th national election in less than 4 years. Although the polls indicate another inconclusive round of voting, one possible outcome is the return to the prime minister's seat of Benjamin Netanyahu. Known as Bibi, Netanyahu held the office of prime minister longer than anyone else. Israelis vote for parties, not people. The would-be prime minister being the leader of the party that wins the greatest number of seats in the 120-seat parliament. In the past 4 elections, Netanyahu has not been able to secure a coalition, and polls don't hold out much hope he will this time either. But the outcome remains to be seen. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On-point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with the low temp dipping to 49. Tomorrow, a mix of mostly sun with some clouds rolling in and a high getting up to 78. Our best chance of rain in a while is Wednesday with about a 20% possibility and a high around 80, mid to upper 70s as our high temps the rest of the work week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
You know, Pat and I here during the break, we went over the Clemson play-by-play, and ABM, I don't know what game you were watching, man. You're way, way off base on what you're saying here because, the Tigers' first touchdown drive, it was Shipley that carried the ball as far as when they ran the football. It was Shipley who did most of the ball carrying down the field on that drive. I think Moffa might have had a carry in the midst, but he wasn't the one that was sustaining the drive, running the football. It was Shipley. And then I think the two other, Shipley had the long run, so that wasn't a drive. He had a 50-yard run that he broke off. And then on the one that Moffa scored the touchdown, he had a couple of runs. Maybe this is the one you were referring to, but Moffa actually scored the touchdown. And he had a couple of runs that led up to that touchdown, right? That got him in position for the touchdown, and he scored the touchdown himself, right?
That's right. He had the final 4 carries. Basically, once they got to the 30-yard line, he then ran the ball 4 times. Klubnik ran the ball a couple times, and Moffa eventually punched it in from the 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're off base there, ABM. Way off base. But America loves you nonetheless. All right, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Let's get back to your phone calls on this Monday after. And we are going to go next to, let's see, we did that. Keith in Camden. Keith, welcome in, my friend. Thank you for hanging on. Good to have you with us.
Hey, Phil, Pat, Chris, man, it was tough to hang on with him.
ABM can fire that missile, man. He'll fire that missile.
God. Well, look, real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying we got a group, my son and a bunch of us in a group text. Watch the game and we text back and forth, and I don't want to be a negative Nelly. I think it was a great win. The defense played great. We had 2 good offensive drives. Outside of that, we still offensively it's just not where it needs to be. And I was just curious what y'all thought. Maybe I'm just watching a different screen, but it just doesn't seem like it's a mixed bag of stuff. I'm happy for the win. Defense was great, but I don't know about Satterfield. But enjoy the show. Y'all have a good evening.
Well, thank you very much. You know, a lot of ways to win football games, and I think that you have to just look at the bottom line. And did you get enough from your 3 different parts, offense, defense, special teams, complementary football, to win a football game? And, I mean, I get it when coaches say it's hard to win. I mean, Shane Beamer could care less how they won that game Saturday night, whether it was because of the kickoff return or the kickoff return defense or a punt return or a play made on defense or the offense steamrolling. You know, whatever the case may be. The bottom line is they had more points. However you generated those points, it's irrelevant. And too many folks, and I'm not criticizing you everybody can have their opinion about how things are done. But a win is something to be cherished. And are there things you can do better? Well, sure. It's every game. It's no perfect football team. You know, everybody's got a shortcoming here or there they can improve on. I'm sure even at Ohio State, they feel like they've got some things that they can do better. You know, certainly Clemson has got things that they can do better, even though they are undefeated and ranked number 5 this week in the AP. You know, are the Tigers a fraud, ranked number 5? I mean, is this team really the 5th best team in the country? Could they beat any of the 4 teams ranked ahead of them? Not to get off your question, I'm just was thinking out loud. Could Clemson beat any of the 4 teams ranked ahead of them? That would be Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, and Michigan. And that doesn't include Alabama being right back there behind them. Because, look, I mean, they had a tussle with Syracuse. They've had close games throughout the season. Had a tussle with Florida State. So anyway, but going back to your question on the Gamecocks, yeah, they'd like to average 450 yards a game and average 40-something points a game just on offense and then throwing in a little bit more on defense. Who wouldn't want that? And just make it easy. But they don't have that kind of talent. You know, they don't have those kind of players right now. So I think you just enjoy the win. You take the win. You look at the fact that you're going to be favored. You're a 6-point favorite. Well, what? It opened at 6. I think maybe it's like 4.5 now. What is it for Missouri? They're favored to beat Missouri. They'll be favored to beat Vanderbilt on the road. If they don't take their eye off the ball in 2 weeks, and I know they've had a hard time with Missouri here of late. Missouri's won the last 3 against them. So you take nothing for granted, but they should beat Missouri in Columbia and win the Mayor's Cup. Back-to-back trophy games. They got the Bonham Trophy, and now they get the Mayor's Cup. So the Gamecocks going to have to build a new trophy case for all these trophies that they are accumulating in these trophy games. Hey, Spurrier used to love it, get excited about trophy games. If there's a trophy on the line, he said, it's worth going out to get. So I think you enjoy the W. Yeah, I mean, if you want to criticize it, what are you doing? If you want to criticize it and say, yeah, the offense, this offense, that, yeah, there's still not a great offense. But I think they're getting better. And I think the way that they moved the ball in the fourth quarter, especially on the ground, kind of showed that they were starting to take control against a team that they haven't been able to match up against in recent years, against a team they couldn't block at all last year. So I see improvement. And they should beat Missouri. They should beat Vanderbilt. And then you're looking at sitting here 7-2 going into the Orange Crush, as the angry black man referred to it. The Orange Crush, Florida. I think I'll see how Florida does against Georgia and how they do against A&M. But if things play out, and if South Carolina wins their next 2 and Florida loses their next 2, I would like the Gamecocks' chances of going into Gainesville and winning that ball game. And then, you know, they're playing with house money, 8-2. They're playing with house money the last 2 games against Tennessee and Clemson. You know, they'll be big underdogs if things continue. Tennessee still got to play Georgia, still got to play Kentucky. So let's see what kind of shape they're in by the time they come to Columbia. But you figure they're going to be the favorite at this point in time. And then, of course, I think Clemson will be a favorite up there. But I guarantee you, the Gamecocks are getting the Tigers' attention if they're watching, if they're looking. They're getting the Tigers' attention right now. You have to if you're Clemson. Beating Texas A&M is quite a excuse me. It's quite an achievement for South Carolina considering their history there. Pat, you okay? I mean, what are you doing?
I wasn't sure if our viewers would be able to figure that out. I'm having technical difficulties, computer not working. Just trying to work through it over here. Give me a minute.
Well, I mean, I actually saw you slam something over there, which is good. I'm glad to see you express your feelings that way. You're not on the air. You're not on the air.
taking your advice every now and then. Sometimes you got to just use a hammer.
Yeah.
I didn't have a hammer handy, but I do have my fist. So
Yeah.
making use of what I have.
All right. Can we continue with the calls, or is that out of the? Oh, we can. Okay. We'll continue with the calls. 888-898-2525. I mean, my advice is enjoy the 5-2. Okay, and yeah, they could do better again on the offensive side. There's no question about it. But I think they're getting better, and I think last year they got better as the season went on offensively, except for that Clemson game. But they ran into a brick wall. I would look for a better offensive performance against Missouri. An even better one against Vanderbilt. All right, let's continue with the calls. We got Gamecock Larry next up in Swansea. Hello, Gamecock Larry. How are you? I bet you slept well over the weekend.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. Phil.
Yes, sir.
This is Gamecock Larry.
Yeah.
I got a few things to say about this weekend, but let me say something about them two previous callers. Every time my Gamecock buddy Keith called in, he got something to complain about. Keith, we won. Don't worry about it. We won. And we got to keep that winning going on. I mean, don't worry about how we won or why we won. I don't care how ugly it is as long as we win if it's only about 1 point. And now Triple T, Trash Talking Tiger. This is Gamecock Larry, Trash Talking Gamecock. But I tell you what, well, let me be okay. I want you to somehow or another we get together and you talking about this Orange Crush the Gamecock schedule end of the season. I will guarantee you, and I will put some money on it, that we will win at least 2 of those 3 games at Orange Crush, and one of them is going to be you. We're going to take the Tigers to the woodshed this year. Now we done stopped two streaks. Now we're going to stop the 3rd streak. I can't stand drink wits because you beat us 3 different times. Even beat us with Appalachian State. But that's all right. We're going to go back to the drawing board, and we're going to put something on the Tigers. I guess I'll be getting a call from old Mo the Tiger or something like that. But that's okay. Gamecock Larry ain't got no call from old Austin the Aggie. I was looking for you Friday night. No see, no hair, no see. What happened to you, Pee Wee? I'm still here. And that's nice talking to you, Phil. I would appreciate you taking my call. I got me 2 radios. I got one on one station, and I got one on 100.7.
Yes, sir.
And yes, sir. Well, I'll let you go, but we're going to win this weekend. We just got to keep an eye on the prize. And let's see. I think that's about all. Yes, see. Oh, yeah. I hope that other station is listening. The guy that's on their co-host, I hope he's listening. You put me on hold for 40 minutes, then you ain't man enough to say, can't take your call, just hang up on me. Don't hang up on the old man. I might get me a ride down there and come see you, buddy.
Uh-oh.
Go Gamecocks.
All right.
Go Gamecocks.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Larry bringing the heat. Larry bringing the heat. All right. Breaking news in the broadcast industry from Andrew Marchand of the New York Post. He's reporting Jim Nantz will call his last NCAA tournament this March, and Ian Eagle will succeed him as the lead play-by-play man for CBS Turner Sports. 63-year-old Nantz picked this year for his final run because of the location of the Final Four and the network it will be on. The 23 edition will be on CBS and take place in Houston. Of course, he's a University of Houston graduate. So this will be his 32nd Final Four and championship game. He replaced Brent Musburger, who was let go after a contract dispute for the 1991 Final Four. Hello, friends. Jim Nance. Hello, friends. All right, let's hit the break, and we'll come back with more. We've got recruiting coming up. We got Zach Willis coming up, and we got more of your phone calls as well. Number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number. You want to hit the call real quick while you're...
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I've got this problem resolved, but I'm going to need a moment.
All right, let's go to Chuck in Columbia then. Chuck, welcome into Sports Talk. It's your lucky break. We get you on before the break. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, I just want to talk about that the games from the weekend.
Yes, sir.
That Vanderbilt, Missouri. You know, they shorted Vanderbilt on that fourth down. The line judge called it a first down, and then the field judge from behind came up and moved the ball back a yard. So I think that would have been a different game had they not took that from them.
Was that at the very end?
Yeah, right there at the end when Vanderbilt went for that fourth down. The guy he made the line to gain, and the line judge spotted the ball. He signaled first down, and then the field judge from behind came up and moved the ball back a yard, and then they brought the chains out. And I'm saying, well, why bring the chains out? You know it ain't. You know it's not there. It was, but you moved it back. You know, but I don't know. I just
Yeah. I I saw when their play-by-play where Vandy had gotten down to the Missouri 44 and got stopped on downs at the end of the game, and then Missouri just needed out from there. So I didn't realize there was controversy. I didn't realize that, according to you, they had gotten the first down, and then the officials moved it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching that one. And as far as I was going to congratulate Carolina on their win too, beating A&M. I'm a Clemson fan, but that was a good game. Excuse me. But what's his name? That last caller?
Gamecock Larry.
Yeah. See, I never ever will make a guarantee on a game because you don't ever know how they'll turn out. You know what I mean? I don't like eating crows, so I'm not going to guarantee. But you was asking if Clemson could beat anybody ahead of them, and I think if they play like they did the end of the second quarter and the first of the third quarter in that Florida State game, I think they can go toe to toe with anybody.
All right, thanks for your phone call. Yeah, but I mean, to beat a Georgia, to beat an Alabama, or any of those super elite teams, you just can't get by with 1.5, 2 quarters of good play. I mean, you're going to play 4 quarters. So, and Clemson hasn't really displayed that here through much of this season. They've just had these lapses. They've had periods where they've played really good football, but then they've had lapses where they can't sustain anything on offense, and they have some breakdowns on defense. Of course, now the defense really stood up in the second half against Syracuse and only gave up about 130 yards in the second half, and much of that came in the final minutes in the fourth quarter. Syracuse hurt itself. I think they were flagged 8 times in the second half. So they did not play good, disciplined football. And, of course, they were hurt by not getting that call they should have gotten as well. You know, they had that go against them too. So, yeah, I think Clemson very fortunate to win that game on Saturday. That thing could have gone the other way in a hurry. All right, we will continue with calls. Also, we got Zach Willis coming up at the bottom of the hour. Got our recruiting report coming up for you as well in a few minutes. Got a lot of recruiting to go over from the weekend, so stay tuned for that. You want to join us? Got a couple lines open. 888-898-2525, the number to dial. Be right back after this break.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the hunters, Major. What do the hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Our poll question of the week up and available for you on our Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Clemson is 8-0 with 4 more games to win to complete a perfect regular season. Which of the 4 remaining games will present the greatest danger to the Tigers' 12-0 run? Those are Notre Dame, Louisville, Miami, and South Carolina. 221 votes in today. 50.2% say the Gamecocks are the greatest threat to the Tigers going 12-0. 45.2% say Notre Dame, 3.2 Louisville, 1.4 the very disappointing Miami Hurricanes were beaten by Duke over the weekend. A couple of other quick notes. We'll go back to your phone calls. 888-898-2525 is the number. And let's see what else I want to mention to you. Oh, in the stats this week, South Carolina, 81st in total offense, 41st in scoring, 52nd in total defense, 61st in scoring, 1st in block punts and kicks, 1st in kickoff returns, 7th in punt returns, 8th in kickoff return defense. Spencer Rattler's 92nd in passing efficiency. Josh Vann is 8th in punt returns, and Marshawn Lloyd is 8th in total touchdowns. Clemson, 50th total offense, 21st scoring, 27th total defense, 25th scoring, 8th in tackles for loss, 7th in rushing defense, 3rd in red zone defense, 3rd in block kicks, 9th in kickoff returns. Will Shipley is 8th in rushing touchdowns, 10th in total touchdowns. B.J. Potter is 9th in total points, and DJ Uyangalele is 42nd in passing efficiency. Coastal Carolina, 27th in offense, 42nd scoring, 100th in defense, 90th in scoring, 7th in turnover margin, 5th in turnovers gained, 6th in fumbles recovered, 6th in passes had intercepted. Grayson McCall is 4th in passing efficiency, 3rd in yards per pass attempt, and 8th in completion percentage. All right, quickly, let's go to Bruce out in Missouri, keeping an eye on those Tigers out there. Bruce, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey, Bruce, how are you?
Hey, I got cut off. I didn't know you were calling me. I'm doing great. You know, Phil, I want to ask you, when's the last time that Sweeney called a football play? When he seen a play?
I'm sure he calls plays all the time. I'm sure he's talking to Streeter and suggesting plays. I'm sure he did the same thing with Tony Elliott. I mean, I can't give you an exact game and time.
They pay offensive coordinators to do all that kind of stuff, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, the head coach always reserves the right to stick his nose in there and say, "I want this."
I'm telling you right now, I don't think Dabo's ever called a play in his life up there.
No, I'd have to disagree with you, Bruce, and we got to run to a break. I appreciate the phone call.
It was actually reported Dabo Sweeney drew up the game-winning touchdown play against NC State just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think he gets his 2 cents in there.
On-point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with the low temp dipping to 49. Tomorrow, a mix of mostly sun with some clouds rolling in and a high getting up to 78. Our best chance of rain in a while is Wednesday with about a 20% possibility and a high around 80, mid to upper 70s as our high temps the rest of the work week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Democrats are increasingly concerned that Florida may be slipping away this fall and perhaps beyond, as emboldened Republicans seize on cultural issues such as education and demographic shifts in crucial contests for governor in the U.S. Senate. Republicans are predicting outright victory in South Florida's diverse Miami-Dade County, which would have been unthinkable just 4 years ago. Republicans and Democrats privately agreed that Hurricane Ian may have helped Republican Governor Ron DeSantis broaden his appeal. An armed former student broke into a St. Louis high school Monday morning, warning, "You're all going to die," before fatally shooting a teacher and a teenage girl and wounding 6 others before police killed him in an exchange of gunfire. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 417 points, the NASDAQ rose 92. More details at srnnews.com.
Attention listeners, con artists have many tricks for stealing your money, but the AARP Fraud Watch Network is here to help you protect yourself and your family. We give you the tools you need to spot and avoid scams. So listen for the AARP Fraud Watch Network alerts. Use our scam tracking map to see the latest scams and sign up for prevention tips and alerts from law enforcement. To learn how to outsmart con artists before they strike, visit aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.
Open enrollment. It can be a confusing, frustrating time, but it doesn't have to be. You're seeing celebs doing TV ads, billboards everywhere. You're inundated. At Medicare Blueprint, they help with Mom's Medicare plan. I called them, gave them the basics on Mom and her meds. They did everything else. Tim and his team do this full-time, year-round. If you call them, they talk to you. They take you through the whole process. Nothing outsourced. They do the work. A local number, a local guy. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. Tim knows this industry. He's been advocating for people like us for a long time. Go to his website, MedicareBlueprint.com. Look at the testimonials from people all over the Midlands. If Tim can help you, he will. If he can't help you today and thinks you're already in a better plan than he can find for you, he'll tell you because it's the right thing to do. Next time around, you'll remember his honesty. You'll call him when you need his help again. MedicareBlueprint.com or give him a call. 803-708-7398. That's 708-7398 for Medicare Blueprint.
Are you worn out from wall-to-wall political talk? Instead of hearing more about the stuff in Washington that's mostly out of your control, I'll give you the tools to actually take control of your money and your life. Dave Ramsey here. Join me right here on The Point. I'm live and taking your calls weekdays at 2 p.m. I'll teach you how to get on a written plan that actually works, get out of debt, and build wealth. Weekdays at 2 p.m. The Dave Ramsey Show at 100.7 The Point.
gas prices, grocery prices, inflation has hit us all, and it's caused the Fed to raise interest rates. As a result, after historically low mortgage rates for what seemed like forever, interest rates for a mortgage have jumped in recent months. Fran Halloran here. Let me make something clear to you. Mortgage rates are rising. They may continue to rise as the Fed tries to get a grip on inflation. What hasn't changed is the incredible customer service you'll get from Greg McCoy and Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Greg can't control interest rates. He can, however, control fees. With rates on the rise, now more than ever, you need to know you're getting the very best deal. Greg will make sure of that. He's more than just a mortgage guy. Greg McCoy is your trusted advisor. You might be surprised to learn how much Simplified Mortgage and Greg McCoy can do to help you with your biggest financial investment. Not sure? Have questions? Give Greg a call at Simplified Mortgage, 803-722-6044, or find him online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com. Greg McCoy, NMLS 119871.
All right, we're back. It is time now for First and 10 with the coach, Zach Willis, here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Coach. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Phil. How's everybody down in Gamecock and Tigerland?
Everybody's happy as they can be. You know, anytime you get a W. I just don't, listen, I love the callers, and they can say what they want to, but people complain about how you get a win as a coach. When people complain about how you win, I mean, I guess maybe that means you've reached a certain point, huh?
Yeah, definitely. That's when you know that you're a winner, if not a champion. It's when they start complaining about, well, why didn't you beat them worse? And the offensive line didn't do as well. Why didn't y'all score 50 today? You only scored 35. I've had my share of that, and I'm thankful for it. That's a great problem to have.
Yeah. Well, let's begin with the Clemson game since it was the early game. Then we'll get to the South Carolina game. And Tigers had a battle on their hands all day long. They trailed at home. But I tell you what, you give Dabo Swinney credit because, again, he always cites the first four minutes there of the half and the half. And he saved his timeouts, and the Tigers were able to manufacture a late drive in the first half to get that field goal, which might not have looked like much at that time. But then they got the ball to start the second half. And, I mean, from there, they were able to kind of turn things their way. And their defense was tremendous in the second half.
Well, you're exactly right, Phil. Dabo is so, and I think a lot of it is anytime you're successful, well, he's just a great recruiter. Well, he is a great recruiter, one of the very best out there, but he's also a great coach. And it shows, and he's very transparent about the first 4 minutes, last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the second half. And he's really made that a trademark, sold it to his team. And they made the most out of a very tough situation. And there's some hidden things in there that made it tougher, Phil, that I found. You going through and watching it a second, sometimes a third time, and most people probably don't love football like that, but it's been a lifelong curse, I guess, for in some ways, but something I've loved. But Clemson in particular, Coach Swinney, his game management was A+ in that, and it won them that football game.
Well, as I go back and look at it here, they did get the field goal to end the half. Then they kind of struggled there with their possessions to open the third quarter. They had a punt, a fumble, an interception. And then they finished up with the scores on 3 of their last 4 possessions, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. So, I mean, it was a battle. What do you think the quarterback switcheroo, and I know he's sticking with Uyangalele, so there's not a question about the starter, but I mean, do you think now this is an indication that there's an even shorter leash on Uyangalele and they're not going to stomach too many mistakes even earlier in ball games now before going to Klubnik?
Well, I think the biggest thing will be, yes. And the short answer is yes. But his analogy was so perfect after the game, saying, Seth Curry even goes, 3 for 33 in a game or whatever, every now and then, the Larry Birds and Michael Jordans had their bad days, and certainly the Dan Marinos and Tom Brady, he's had a few of them here lately. You always are going to have off days, and man, what a great privilege to have a roster so deep. You can get a quarterback fresh off the bench to come in and help you win the football game and be very effective in doing so. I mean, that's a massive advantage that almost nobody else has in the country. But that goes back to recruiting and his timing. When he pulled Ungale from the field, he went with him as long as he could. And kid played, he was just very inconsistent, just extremely inconsistent and mistake prone. Don't know why. Sometimes they don't know why. It's just not clicking. And a lot of times an average ball team, even above average football program, is going to lose that game. That was a program win because of the depth of talent Clemson has and the guy at the top knowing exactly how to manage him. He knows his team.
How about the 60 runs versus the 25 passes? Was that a product of what Syracuse was doing defensively? Why was Clemson so run heavy? 293 yards rushing. Why do you think they were so run heavy?
Well, they'd be run heavy every week if they could run it that well against everybody.
Yeah.
Any coach in America would do that. But it's a massive, huge size difference up front. And Clemson's goal, I think, from the minute they started that ball game, was to wear Syracuse out up front defensively. And I laughed at Booger McFarland, man. I don't know what he was smoking at halftime, but he was saying Clemson was getting whipped up front. And I'm like, dude, they destroyed Syracuse up front. They turned the ball over. It was the turnovers that killed them. And I was, me and you talked about that. That doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. So we can put those analysts whatever category of intelligence life they compare to. Football-wise, that's ridiculous. It was turnovers that turned it over on the 1 yard line. And it's a 90-some yard scoop and score for Syracuse, a 14-point swing. And here's a thing I found today, Phyllis. It's a massive deal. It's hidden. I went back and recharted things. I knew Syracuse was getting away with a lot of holding calls when they were on offense. A lot. In fact, 6 different, and these were flagrant holds. These were not, away from the play. These were having the guy in a chokehold from behind, grabbing them around the waist once they beaten them. There were 6 of them in the first half, and it cost Clemson 14 points on defense. There's 2 holding calls to open the second half, and that ball game was in their defense's hands the rest of the way. There wasn't a threat. I think they sacked them at one point 3 times in a row and had not laid a finger on him in the first half because they were allowing them to hold. Now, am I saying the refs in the bag? No, I think halftime they went back. They've got consulting referees, and the office, ACC and the SEC, all these people do a great job and really do things the right way. They made a change at halftime and started paying attention to the flagrant holding. I didn't see Dabo complain. Maybe he did, but it was a big deal in that football game. And it was something that went unnoticed by everybody. But I saw a few of them. I didn't think there were 6, but there were 6, and they were really, really obvious holds.
Excellent point. I'm just looking here at the play-by-play. There were no holding calls against Syracuse in the first half, but 2, one third quarter, one fourth quarter on the offense, and then a third on a special teams play. So they had 3 holds against them called in the fourth quarter or in the second half. So you think that was something they were kind of made aware of, and they watched more closely for it in the second half?
I would. That happens. I mean, I got 1 championship ring because I got holding called on a team that would dive at your ankles. They were an option team, and they would hook the foot with the crook of the elbow and hold kids that way. And I just asked the umpire to watch a video right before we started the game. He did a 1-minute video of what they were doing, how they were doing it. He said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, just look at our ankles when they're on offense. We got 10 holding calls, I think 3 in the first half, and we held them to their lowest point total in probably 20 years. But they've been doing it for years, and you got to look at things and figure things out. That's the part that the coaching staff does. And somebody at Clemson, I'm sure, made the referees aware of what was going on. It was mainly their right tackle, and then their left tackle did it too. And these were not just outside the frame type holds. They were tackling the defensive line for Clemson. And once they couldn't do that anymore, it was Clemson's ball game as long as the quarterback wasn't going to turn it over. And at that point, once the turnover stopped, Clemson, took the lead fairly easily and ended up putting the game away. They were very patient on defense at the end. They knew who they were going to go to. They were going to go to gas, and they had them triple covered when they threw the interception. So Clemson did an excellent job, I thought, in that regard. And I was really pleased with how they bounced back. Uiagalelei's got to play better. We all know that. I mean, anybody could see that.
All right, let's go to the Gamecocks. And they got off to the great start with the kickoff return. I mean, there's nothing like that at home to jumpstart you. And then they got the turnover defense, and that led to, well, they had 17 points in the first 5 minutes. So, I mean, they basically made their bed right there within the first 5 minutes. Now, they had 55 more game minutes to go, and they managed to not let it slip away. Not a ton of offense from them, but enough running from Marshawn Lloyd to keep it honest on offense. And then I thought defensively they had another terrific game, especially up front with guys like Pickens and Birch in particular having big nights.
I mean, Pickens and Birch and Hemingway, all in-state kids, right? I know Pickens and Birch and Hemingway's got to be with that last name.
Yeah, he's from Conway.
Exactly, and here's the deal, man. These guys are blue chip athletes, and we kept them at home. Okay, Clemson's keeping kids at home from South Carolina. The Williams kid from Irmo. Look at the difference they made. Texas A&M couldn't block those cats. When things got really going, they wore Texas A&M's offensive line out, made them look bad at times. And Texas A&M is no pushovers. They're not playing well right now, but as you and I talk, they've got talent. And the South Carolina's defense, they were checking for screens. We call it a blitz peel type screen, type check. When you come in, you're on a blitz, but if you see a back take off, you hesitate or go with him. They had somebody account for that back the entire night. And by the end of the game, they even quit trying to throw the screen pass. When a couple opportunities came, Jimbo Fisher didn't even call it. Excellent preparation by them. Terrific effort. I mean, there were some tackles made out there, and I was up off the couch because the effort was so tremendous. Pickens had a tackle their great running back literally by a shirt tail twice. He'd have broke it big, and he just refused to let go. And beautiful effort on their part to win this football game. People say, well, Texas A&M ain't very good. Well, you go try and play them. Because I promise you this, Alabama thinks they're pretty good. There's a lot of people that either beat them or lost to them will tell you they're as talented as anybody in the country. They're a lot like they're a lot like South Carolina. They got a lot of young guys, but South Carolina just kept at it. And I do want to say this: the play calling when Lynch broke the big run and his helmet came off, so the trainers literally jerked him off the field, take him in the tent.
You mean Lloyd?
Lloyd, I'm sorry. You're exactly right, Phil. The creativity they showed in finding ways to run that football and keep that drive alive so he could get back in there. By that time, he walked in the end zone. The reverse, they were creative there. They were creative how they got the ball to people in that series. Some of it I didn't understand. That's what every play caller. But that was phenomenally well done in the red zone to put that game away. And they did a fantastic job. And it's nice to be happy. It's nice to win. It's nice to see great coaching. So great job for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting here 5-2. They're favored their next two games. I mean, a 7-2 South Carolina team going into the so-called Orange Crush part of the schedule, last three games. I think the Gamecock fans and the coaching staff, everybody else would have signed up for that and say, hey, we'll take our chances the last 3 weeks if just get to 7-2 by taking care of these next two games. Nope. Did Zach fizzle out on us there? Sounded like he fizzled out.
He may have. I'll get him reconnected. Give me 1 moment.
Okay. Well, let's go to the break, and then I can come back and we can do recruiting and finish up with Zach. We get him reconnected. How about that? Let's hit the break, and then on the other side, we will give you the recruiting report. Maybe Zach can reconnect. It just sounded like it fizzled out on us. And he was sounding so good up there in the mountains of Kentucky. Zach Willis, 1st and 10, here on Sports Talk, sharing some great insight with us on this Monday night. We'll come back and give you recruiting, maybe a final word from Zach if we reconnect. Be back in just a moment.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the hunters, Major. What do the hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
All right, before we get to the recruiting, Zach is back with us. I want to give him a chance to say nighty-night to everybody. But before you fizzled out, I was just saying the Gamecocks 5-2, I think got a great chance to get to 7-2. And then they're just playing with house money going into those last three games. And I don't see why they can't even think about beating Florida down there. They could be 8-2 going into those last two games.
Well, I could not agree more, Phil. And this is what happens when a team starts believing in itself. That's what folks are witnessing is a metamorphosis of a turnaround, which it's all 90% of it's between the ears. And I think 7-2 is very doable. They got to keep their attitude, stick together, stay healthy, of course. And whatever Coach Beamer and the staff are doing, we need more of it. And we need more fans there. That place was not packed out. He was very complimentary. But I'm going to say this, if you can't go to the game, don't take a ticket. Give your ticket to somebody who wants to go because it can be louder. And they had 7 false starts because of Gamecock fans and a great defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was pretty, it was close to full. I know few spots in the upper deck, but the thing that gets me, the second half, how people don't come back after halftime for whatever reason.
Doing that. They got to quit doing that. Okay, the recruits see that too, though. Okay, and I love the people that call in, the people that write to me and stuff. Go to the game and stay at the game, please. It helps the program. Trust me, you'll be glad you did.
Zach, as always, we appreciate you. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Zach Willis, 1st and 10. And with that, we go to recruiting here on this Monday night, brought to you by our good friends at Seawells. Full week of the daily luncheon buffet. Traffic will be a lot better since the fair's gone, right? The fair's gone now? Yeah. So no trouble getting over there for lunch. So get over there 11 to 2. And for the very best in the catering business for over 70 years, pushing 80 years, it's the Seawells family and their staff handling all the work, all the planning, and all the cleanup. 803-771-7385, SeawellsCateringSC.com. So a lot in recruiting. So USC offered South Florence quarterback Lenora Sellers. And, of course, he's been committed to Syracuse. He ended up not going anywhere on Saturday. He did watch, of course, Clemson, Syracuse, and USC and Texas A&M. But he was excited to get the offer from Shane Beamer, who called him Saturday morning to make the offer. Of course, Marcus Satterfield been out to scout him recently. So he's happy to have that offer. He talks to Dino Babers every Sunday from Syracuse. They talked on Sunday, didn't talk about that offer from South Carolina. And he likes that South Carolina runs a pro-style offense, which he thinks would fit him. He also likes the offense they run at Syracuse. So he's still committed to Syracuse, plans to go up there this weekend for Notre Dame. He's already taken his official visit there, and he's talking with South Carolina about an official visit or perhaps an unofficial visit for a remaining home game, see what he can work out there. He also said Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, USF, and Tulane are in on him pretty hard. He'll sign in December, enroll in January. Safety Khalil Barnes of Bogart, Georgia, back at Clemson Saturday. And he's been giving the Tigers a serious look since receiving an offer in late September. Not long after that, he decommitted from Wake Forest, and his recruiting has taken off. He's gotten Georgia Tech, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Notre Dame offers. He went inside the Clemson program and met with Dabo Swinney before the game and after the game and got a chance to talk with him a good bit. And he was impressed with how the Tigers never gave up and Swinney's message that it was a fourth-quarter game and how they hung in there. Clemson safeties coach Mickey Kahn has been handling most of his recruiting, and he said he liked the way the safeties played, and he feels comfortable with what they do, with how they run their safeties out there. He has more recruiting activity ahead of him, including an official with Clemson the USC weekend, and that's going to keep the Tigers as a strong contender for him. And he's going to be going up to Notre Dame on an official visit when Clemson plays up there. So a couple of more looks at the Tigers. And he'd also like to get a visit done with Oklahoma. Plans to make his decision in December. Athlete Myson Kelly of Daniel is back at Clemson. Unofficial visit Saturday. And, of course, he decommitted from Virginia Tech in early October. A few days later, Clemson called with the offer. They have not specified a position for him, just that they are recruiting him as an athlete. Of course, he's been over to Clemson many times, but he said this was different since he's now an offered prospect. He was treated a little bit differently, I guess getting more love than normal from what he's used to on his visits there. And he was saying Dabo Swinney was like, we want you bad. He just kept saying, stop playing, and basically telling him to go ahead and commit. That's what Kelly had to say. He said he did consider it. He's still not sure about it yet. It's not going to be too much longer, he said. Going to find out where he's going in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He's scheduled for an official at Virginia Tech November 4th, and he's going back to Clemson for his official visit the weekend of the USC game. He's also talked in the past about visiting Oklahoma and Florida, but nothing set. Clemson handed out more offers on Saturday, including a running back in this class, C.J. Spiller, making the offer to Jamarius Haynes, 6 feet 180, Roanoke, Alabama. That's his first offer, period. Haynes has rushed for 1,273 yards and 16 touchdowns. Tigers also offered 2024 offensive lineman Blake Frazier, Austin, Texas. 2024 defensive tackle Malik Blockton, Pike Road, Alabama. 24 running back David Eziomum of Kennesaw, Georgia. Also, Clemson had several unofficial visitors for their game, but they did have one official visit, 2023, to Marion Parker out of Phoenix City, Alabama. Also, 2023 defensive tackle Caden McDonald, another important unofficial visit for Clemson on Saturday. USC handed out more offers over the weekend. 24 linebacker Jamonta Waller, Picayune, Mississippi. 24 running back Dylan Jones, Olney, Maryland. 24 defensive end Darian Mayo, Olney, Maryland. 25 receiver Edward Coleman, Savannah. 25 defensive tackle Charles House of Charlotte. 25 tight end defensive end Amari Winston, Calhoun, Georgia. 27 receiver defensive back Ivion Lewis of Richmond. Spartanburg quarterback Raheem Jeter committed to East Carolina. 23 offensive lineman Gabriel Fortson, Kennesaw, Georgia, who drew interest from Clemson, committed to Georgia Tech. USC target cornerback Chris Peel of Charlotte committed to Georgia. USC Clemson in the top 8 with 24. Greenville offensive tackle Blake Franks. The others are Florida, Ole Miss, North Carolina, Miami, Alabama, Florida State. USC's in the final 8 with 24 receiver Brandon Winton Jr. of IMG Academy. The others are Miami, Louisville, Boston College, Penn State, Kansas, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Athletes Darian Harrison of Woodland was offered by Vanderbilt in Oklahoma. 24 running back Turbo Richard of Northwestern offered by Charlotte. 26 quarterback Josiah Oxendine of Dillon was offered by Marshall. South Carolina had a big group of unofficial visitors in over the weekend, including 23 running back Khalifa Keith, 23 tight end Luke Chilton, 24 defensive tackle Haven, make that Heaven, Brown Schuler, just to name a few. Basketball, 2024 6'4" Cam Scott of Lexington made his first official visit over the weekend to USC. He's going to take officials to Auburn, Texas, and Florida State. He's been to Tennessee unofficially, and he plans to take one to Duke as well. Clemson target 6'3" Mike Williams of Baltimore took his final official over the weekend to LSU. He's also been to Clemson, Syracuse, DePaul, and Wake Forest. Commitment should be coming pretty soon. Clemson and LSU believed to be the front runners. Tomorrow, 2023 6'6" Alea Del Rosario of Nashville plans to make her commitment announcement. She's choosing from USC, Tennessee, LSU, and North Carolina. That'll do it. Recruiting. That'll do it. Sports Talk. Thank you for being with us. Talking Tuesday with Beamer. Coming up tomorrow. See you then.